Are we gonna survive?
Yes, we will.
I wasn't scared before, but now I'm like...
Oh my god, it's happening. We're seeing a lion. I'm seeing a lion. Today is the day I've been waiting for so long. I am finally doing the #1 bucket list activity here in Africa. I'm going on a safari, and not just any safari. I'm doing a 5-day-long, 4-night safari here in northern Tanzania. I do have the luxury of time, so I decided to go all the way out and basically see everything that there is to see here. So for the next 4 nights, I will be sleeping in campsites, in tents, and traveling for Tanzania, and hopefully I will see a lot of animals. I'm very excited, but also a little bit nervous. Yeah, the journeys begin. Also, fun fact, did you know that safari actually means journey in Swahili? I booked my safari at my hostel when I arrived in Arusha a couple of days earlier, which is what a lot of travelers do here. You just show up in Arusha, which is known as the safari capital of Tanzania. And the first thing they will ask you when you check into your accommodation is, have you booked your safari yet? And if not, they will show you their offers. So it is super easy to find a safari here. However, I did regret booking it the way I did since I did have some issues, but I will get into that later. And of course, you can also book safaris online in advance, but that's definitely gonna cost you way more. It is cheaper to just show up in Arusha and book a couple of days before you go. And safaris are not cheap thing in general, so booking it here does save you some money. We officially made it to our first stop, Tarangire Park. We are at the gates here where you pay for the entrance. This right behind me is our car. A good thing about these cars is that everyone gets a window seat. So in ours there's space for 8 people, and basically everyone is sitting by the window, which is great because obviously that's what you want here. Like, imagine if you wouldn't sit by a window, like that would not be fun.
We say that Tarangire is the home of elephants and also home of baobab trees.
It's so funny because in the beginning when you start driving and you're still new to this whole safari thing and you see one animal, I think our first animal was like the zebra we saw in the distance, you get so excited. When I saw that zebra, I was like, oh my god, this is it. I'm seeing a wild animal. It was so worth it, but it was nothing compared to what we saw later. Like later we wouldn't even stop for zebras anymore because we would see so many of them. Look what we've got here. Oh yeah. Go in the middle, Lauren. Go in the middle, Lauren. Bunch of tourists and giraffes.
I feel like it's a female. I'm not sure why.
That is a male.
That is a male. Thank you. You're gonna regret that.
I'm getting a feeling. I think that's a crocodile.
See, when it's moving, the
Yeah.
legs of the right side goes together, left side goes together.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah, it's weird.
that is the unique feature of the giraffe.
Obviously, a great thing about doing safari with a guide is that you actually have someone in the car who is knowledgeable, and our guide told us so many interesting things about animals that I didn't know before.
The other one's like a tourist with the bikini off.
Yeah. See,
Good one. So we're stopping for lunch. First lunch of this safari. Oh, is there a monkey? There is a little monkey under the car. I love this little mate, just chilling. So this is where we'll be having lunch. As you can see, we're certainly not alone here. A lot of our kind.
Yeah, because Kaja's going out there vlogging.
I am totally amazed by how many animals we have seen so far. We've been driving for maybe an hour, not even. I don't even know because time flies by. But I thought that you have to drive for hours to see something, which actually I've been told that. So, you know, I guess it depends. It depends on your luck. Maybe we were just lucky, but as soon as we entered the national park, we saw zebras, we saw giraffes, we saw so many of them actually. But I must say that I did not expect lunch spots to look like this. There's so many people here. I think the monkey just stole something. So you can definitely tell that this is a big business. There's whole infrastructure in place for tourists, whole lots of tables. There are toilets behind me, very nice toilets. And don't take it the wrong way, I'm not really complaining. I think it does make this whole experience way more comfortable. The fact that when you stop, you can just go to a bathroom, wash your hands, have a meal at a proper table. I'm just trying to, you know, show you the reality of going on a safari here in Tanzania. I find these things really interesting because before coming coming here, I did watch a couple of travel vlogs, and I feel like some people choose to only focus on the wild part, like, you know, the animals and everything, and obviously that's why you come here, that's the most interesting part, so I do get it. But I also do find it really interesting, the whole business infrastructure part of it, and I do want to show you that in my vlogs.
As we were having lunch, we spotted a bunch of elephants walking towards a river, so we quickly rushed back to the car to try to get closer to them.
So there are like 20 elephants there. Crazy. This is really incredible. Can you tell how close they are to us? This is probably like, what, 50 meters? This one probably even closer. Insane.
I love him knocking the birds out. He's like, get out of it.
There's so many mummies, elephant mummies with their babies, and apparently an elephant is pregnant for 22 months. Oh my god, the baby's so small.
So far they're not bothered by us.
No, not at all.
Very interesting. Road and
That is only the path they want to pass across.
So they just want to cross and they don't care that humans are here.
Animals in national parks do get used to seeing safari cars, so they're usually not bothered by them. But of course, if they would see a human getting out of that car, that would be an issue. I mean, you obviously don't do this, you don't get out of the car, that could be very dangerous. Or, I mean, you can get out of the car, but only if there's no animals around. And African elephants can actually be quite aggressive. They're bigger and more aggressive than Asian elephants, and that is partly because they were hunted so much in the past, and they developed this aggression towards humans. So our guide told us to be very careful when we see animals. We couldn't stick our hands out of the car because, I mean, it can get very dangerous, obviously.
They're little Pumbas. So we're done with the national park for today, and now we're gonna drive for about an hour and a half to the campsite where we'll be staying tonight. So first night of staying in a tent in about 15 years. So we made it to the campsite where we will be staying tonight. So the way it will work is that we'll stay in a different place every night, since we're gonna go to many different locations. Tomorrow we're going to Serengeti National Park, which is probably the #1 most popular national park here in Tanzania. Since this is a campsite, there's obviously a toilet here, bathroom, restaurant, and you can also, you know, like charge for your devices and everything. This is definitely more advanced, like more infrastructure than I expected. But I think the problem is that I really just did not know what to expect, because my hostel just didn't provide me with any information. I asked for it, and they basically ignored my messages for 2 days. So I just don't think that's okay, you know, like this is really not a cheap activity to do. So in case you're wondering how much I'm paying for this, I am paying $900 for the 5-day safari, 4 nights. And this is sort of like the cheapest, I guess they call it budget safari, because you sleep in tents and it's definitely not like luxury. So the way it works with safaris is that obviously once you're driving, it doesn't really matter if you're on a luxury safari or not. I guess the only difference is that maybe you have car with AC. I mean, that actually is a big difference. So the AC is broken in our car, so we don't have that. And then of course you also might get like champagne or stuff like that if you book like a luxury safari. But I guess what does make a difference is accommodation. So if you pay more, you're probably gonna stay at nicer places and get nicer food. The food was not bad that we got, by the way, so it's not that, you know. However, those luxury safaris are very expensive. It would cost you like probably a couple of $1,000s if you want to do it in a nicer way than what I'm doing here. Good morning, guys. Today is our second day of safari and we are going to Serengeti, which is very exciting because that's the place where we have the highest chance to see the lions, which is something I'm really looking forward to. I mean, if we see them, because obviously there is no guarantee. So we have a long drive ahead of us. Serengeti is about 200 or 300 kilometers from here. I think almost like 300 kilometers to the camp where we'll be staying in Serengeti. So it will take us about 6, 7, maybe even up to 8 hours.
we're doing a slip stop at a viewpoint here in
We do like safari.
Every time I try to get out of this car, I hit my head.
Oh my god!
So we are currently in Ngorongoro Conservation Area. And as our guide just told us, the difference between national park and conservation area is that in conservation areas, you have both wild animals and people. So here, you have Maasai tribe living here together with the wild animals, and that's why it's called conservation area and not national park. Look at this. So we were just driving and then we saw a bunch of giraffes.
Like those shrubs as well. They're eating on the toes, not in the shop. Holy shit, look your left.
Oh my god. That is absolutely insane. Like what?
Love how I shine bright, checking these highlights.
So we just stopped for lunch. We're basically in the middle of nowhere in some bushes, like our guide said, and we're gonna have lunch right here. Rice! I'm so excited.
I know, right?
That is also a vibe. Look at our table. So we've been driving for maybe 4 or 5 hours at this point. It's very bumpy here. It's so funny. They call it an African massage, or not that funny to be honest. So if you tend to get car sick like I do, make sure to bring some medicine with you. But to be honest, majority of sickness medicine makes me sleepy, and it's not a place where you want to sleep in the car, right? There's so much happening here. I mean, we've already seen so many animals. And what I also find really fascinating is when we're passing all these villages and Maasai's with their goats and sheeps, I guess. So as our guide told us, the reason why Maasai's are allowed to live in this area is because they don't hunt, they don't kill the wild animals. They just have their own goats and cows. They keep them, they do eat them as well, but you know, they mind their own business. They don't disturb the wild animals, and that's why they're allowed to be here. Apparently there was a different tribe living here before together with Maasai's, but they're not so friendly to the wild animals. They used to hunt them, so they were kind of forced to leave by Tanzanian government. Officially made it to Serengeti National Park after driving for how many hours? How long did we? 5? 4? No way, we've drove more. I feel like we basically live in this car. This is the entrance to the famous Serengeti National Park. So we're taking a group pic and look at our view right now.
Oh, I did that.
Back in this car and up we go. Can we stop? Cute bus. We're passing so many zebras that I don't even... Yes. Oh my god, it's happening. We're seeing a lion. I'm seeing a lion. Oh.
Finally.
Oh my god.
Oh, she's so pretty.
Look at this traffic happening here. Seeing elephants so close up was just such a special experience. It was almost like spiritual for me. And honestly, I'm not even the most spiritual person. But I just think that there's something very special about seeing animals out in the wild in their natural habitat. It's a very unique experience, and I could just stare at them forever. It's so fascinating.
Oh, yeah, still in it.
No, because the elephant is walking on the road, guys. Look at him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
And then we also got very lucky and we saw a hippo, and it's actually quite rare to see them, especially on land. Most of the time they're in water, like you can see here. As we were approaching our camp, we also saw a beautiful cheetah. Cheetahs are the fastest land animals on Earth. They can run up to even 130 kilometers per hour, which is absolutely crazy. That's like a speeding car. This is a bit crazy situation. I don't know if you can see, but there are humans playing football right there. And then we have a cheetah right here. So those humans you could see there were Maasai kids playing football, and we all found it very strange that these kids could just peacefully play football next to a very dangerous wild animal. But apparently wild animals mostly don't care about humans unless they're very hungry, but I guess that doesn't happen a lot. So a lot of the time, Maasais who have been living around national parks in Tanzania and Kenya for centuries, they just live peacefully next to animals. So we made it to the campsite where we'll be staying tonight. We literally need to set up tents like this person right here, and it's very empty. There's no one here, and it's like we're literally in the middle of nowhere. It's kind of more of what I expected of safari. Another thing that I found really strange is that when we got to our camp, it turned out that there was no fence around it. So at night, when you're sleeping in a tent, wild animals can basically just come up to you. So you can obviously not keep any food or toiletries inside the tent, and you cannot keep toiletries because they smell, animals can smell it, and they might think that it's food. And if you have to pee at night, it's actually too dangerous to walk all the way to the toilet. So what you do is that you walk in front of your tent. First, you do a 360 scan of your surroundings, and well, if you see a pair of eyes staring at you, you do not pee, you go back to your tent. So yeah, I mean, that's certainly not something that I expected before coming here. Are we gonna survive?
Yes, we will.